On Friday, November 24th / Black Friday, the boys are back in town as NECA is putting back up for pre-order the Mirage Studios Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4-pack. So if you missed them the first time, go get them this time. And now, on to the show. Well, hello there everybody, I'm Photo Dave, that's my boring background, this is Toypixx, and in this video, Picture-Perfect action figure pre-orders that went up this past week. Now before we really get started, I want to thank everyone for checking out the first Toypixx live stream. Hugely appreciated, especially since it was very clear I didn't know what I was doing. Don't worry, I've been playing a little bit with StreamYard, and the next live stream is gonna go off a whole lot better, so stick around, find out when that's gonna be. Anyway, remember that the QR code is in the bottom corner for you to scan and get your free action figure photography guide, which also signs you up for the Toypixx newsletter. And stick around to the end of the video where I show off today's Toypixx photo, as well as show you what today's Patreon freebie is. Now, everything I show off in this video will be linked in the video description below. Some of those are affiliate links, which means I get a cut at no additional cost to you. Now, without further ado, let's get to those picture-perfect preorders. I have no idea what that accent was. Okay, let's kick this off with some reissues, shall we? First up, we have Nalan Cheel from the Star Wars Black series. Now, I feel like I gotta talk about this guy. Look at all the hands with this thing. He can play all the instruments. He seems to have plenty of articulation for what he's supposed to be used for, which is setting up your mobile nodes. And if you missed him the first time, well, here he is again for you. You can buy a few of them and see what you can do. And if you didn't miss him, you're good to pass on by, I suppose. The next reissues come from Amazing Yamaguchi, and they are the Iron Spider and the Spider-Man 2.0. So if you missed these the first time, go get them. Amazing Yamaguchi's one of those lines that I can see me really getting into, because these pictures show that they can be posed in very cool poses without showing all kinds of unsightly joints like they used to have to do with the earlier Amazing Yamaguchi figures. And so as I'm looking at them, I can kind of look at them as puzzle pieces and just things that I might want to pick up at some point in the future, because whether I do or don't, they're really starting to iron out the look of their figures, and these things just look pretty. And you knew I'd be super stoked about this one coming back, and that is the Black Hush Batman from Medicom Mafex. Ladies and gentlemen, I have but this to say. The Hush Batman, whether you get him in black or blue, is the best Batman that has ever been made. And that's not hyperbole. I believe 110% of the collecting community is totally on board with that. Because we all agree on that kind of thing anyway, right? Okay, that might be hyperbole, but for my cash, for my money, for what I've been able to do with the black and the blue versions, I don't think there's a better Batman on the market. So if you dig him, go get him, because it seems every time this guy sells out, the price skyrockets to around $200 or $300, and he's a lot cheaper than that right now. Okay, now I'm going to talk about some stuff that I didn't talk about in the last Picture-Perfect pre-orders, because frankly, I recorded the video before I saw them, and they are the Rising Sun's Mythic Legions wave. These things are glorious. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and say a whole lot. I'm just gonna show you the shot from the Store Horseman website of all of them that are in the wave. But man, Mythic Legions is one of those lines that had I jumped in early, I might be really deep in them, because there's not a single one that comes out that I don't look at and think, that thing's pretty rad. I dig them. But what really caught my eye is the thing that I think caught everybody's eye, and that is Bodvar the bear. Now this bear can work in pretty much any setting, for pretty much any photo, for pretty much any line. This thing is going to be absolutely perfect for whatever you want to do with it. On the live stream, somebody brought up you could totally make him Cocaine Bear, and I started thinking about it. All you'd have to do is dig into your cupboard, get a little bit of white flour on your fingers, and just right on the face of the bear. And you could have some pretty hilarious shots taken with that kind of thing. And yeah, I don't know where else I'd go with that, but that bear, very rad stuff. And if you dig him, you should probably get him. And then of course we had something else from Amazing Yamaguchi, and that is the Winter Soldier. Now, one of the things that keeps me from going nuts about Amazing Yamaguchi are the human, like the face portraits and all that stuff, because I don't have anything in my collection that's very anime, so they wouldn't really go with any of my stuff. Like if I look at a figure like Moon Knight, he might go with my stuff because his face is covered, or Black Panther, things along those lines, or the Spider-Man and Iron Spider I just talked about earlier, just because everything's covered. But one day, if I go nuts and really load up on an anime collection, I'm gonna end up with a bunch of these because they look that good, just like this Winter Soldier figure here. So another one, if you dig them, this is one I missed from last week, so if you did want them, you probably already pre-ordered them, but if you didn't and you're having second thoughts about missing out, well, go grab him. He's cool. Okay, now's the part of the show where I talk about things that I know absolutely nothing about. Fortunately, this week, there's only two figures that fit in said category. The first, from Hiya Toys, is the Universal Soldier Luke Deveraux, aka Jean-Claude Van Damme. Now this dude is in 1/12 scale. Obviously he's got cloth goods and the fatigues look like they fit him pretty well. He has 9 additional hands, he has 2 additional heads, he has a couple guns, he's got a nightstick, he's got a headset, a stand, he's got all the things. He looks pretty good to me, but here's the irony of this figure. Because of the way the cloth goods are done, I don't think you're gonna be able to get Jean-Claude Van Damme into a full-on Van Damme. That is, unless you go out and get him maybe some yoga pants, or maybe get him some shorts. See what happens there. Only then might you be able to make Jean-Claude Van Damme do his thing. And I'm running this into the ground, so if you like him, go get him, and I'm gonna jump to the next deal. Okay, fair warning, I'm about to totally butcher this name, but I believe it's from an anime called Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann, which sounds really harsh for a lot of what I read when it comes to Japanese type anime, I guess. Which Japanese anime? That might be redundant. Anywho, the character is Yoko Littner, and I just like the look of this thing, and no, it's not because of the way she's clad, it's because of the way the colors work together, like the bright pinks and the blue of the rifle and all the facial expressions. She's got several hands. There's just the way she moves and everything else. This is one of those figures that I was talking about earlier with Winter Soldier when I was talking about anime type stuff that just looks goofy enough to put it somewhere, and I would feel okay with this one. I wouldn't feel judged at all by, when my sister comes to visit, because she just looks goofy and just looks fun. And as I've said in the past recently, especially when I was talking about the Turtles at Grayskull line, I feel like my collection needs more just ridiculousness in it. So this character, Yoko Littner here, she'd kind of fit that bill. Next up, from Spero Toys and Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, we have the Void, which just looks like a big cybernetic scary lion, and those are the kinds of things I dig. I really like the whole anthropomorphic look of everything that seems to be coming out recently. I really dig what I'm seeing out of Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, and I still haven't gotten any. It's going to be one of those pick and choose lines, I think. The Void, he might end up on one of those pick or choose lists. Now, he's on here on a technicality because he only seems to have one replacement attachment for a hand. And so generally I wouldn't put him on here if he didn't have more extra hands, but the Animal Warriors of the Kingdom figures, none of them really list extra hands, but they've all got extra hands. Anyway, like I said, technicality and big scary cybernetic lion. Alright, I'm about to talk about figures from two companies that are remarkably inconsistent when it comes to their offerings. Sometimes their stuff looks incredible. In fact, most of the time, their stuff looks incredible. But it comes out, it's not articulated as well as the pictures made it look. It's got insanely loose joints. Maybe they're missing paint apps. They're not consistent. I'm hoping each company really starts to turn a corner into consistency because, again, like I said, I like the looks of these things, but I don't know. So there's a caveat here. I'm gonna put them up here as far as photogenic figures because they do qualify, but just be cautious about whether or not you pre-order them. And don't hate me for saying that. I think that most of you will look at these and know that when it comes to these companies, what I'm saying is true. Anyway, let's get to it. Okay, here we go. We have 3 figures from the DC McFarlane Collector Edition line from McFarlane Toys. First up, we're gonna fire off Superman with Crypto. Now, they do qualify as photogenic figures. Personally, I look at this and I'm thinking, that is Roid Rage Superman. He's been hanging out at the gym a little too much, maybe talking with Ronnie Coleman, shooting up some kind of crazy stuff, getting all, you don't want to tick off this Superman because he's probably a little loose with a heat vision. Anywho, he does look like he's going to move okay, although there are no bicep cuts, but he has a slug of a Crypto figure, so that's cool. The one thing about these collector editions that I wish that McFarlane Toys wouldn't do is put in the stands and put in the cards. In fact, I don't need stands or cards for any of my figures. I kind of see those as a cost saving for the company rather than a value add to the consumer, but I know that your mileage may vary on that. But I'd like to see that money go into more hands and heads and accessories and things along those lines. But I know that that's not everybody's cup of tea, like I said, and this Superman does qualify, and if you dig the way he looks, well, go grab him, because he probably is going to look pretty good under your lights and in front of your lens. Next up, with a whole lot less roid rage going on, we have the Batman as a Green Lantern. I don't know. Clearly, I need to get back into reading some comics, because I have no idea what this is from, but it's McFarlane Toys, so it's Batman. I mean, that's pretty much what we've got here. He comes with a lantern, he comes with effects, he comes with extra hands, he's got the stand with the card. He qualifies, man, and he looks good. One of the things that really drives me nuts about McFarlane is that he's unwilling to get to the 1/12 scale, but if you're into 1/10 and you're into Batman and you're into the DC stuff, this is a set of figures that it feels like McFarlane Toys is trying to turn a corner. Hopefully to a lot more consistency, because I gotta say, I know nothing about this figure. I probably wouldn't pick him up because I'm sure he lasted for about a comic or two, but he does look cool. Hopefully he moves well, hopefully he comes out looking as good as these promo pictures make him out to look. Okay, let's be honest, we've got Captain Carrot here. He's another Angry Bunny figure, and I love the glut of Angry Bunny figures we have coming our way. Just look at this bad boy. Look at that bunny. Now, this is me being a bad nerd. I know nothing about him, but the second I saw him, I was like, that looks pretty cool. And he's one of those figures that I would be tempted to go out and grab if I were sure that the quality was going to be good when I got him. Still, right now, for what we see in these promo images, he does qualify as a photogenic figure. He's got a stand, he's got 4 extra hands, he's got the stand in the card, which as far as I'm concerned could go in the circular file, but again, that's just me. Still, the face sculpt on that bunny, the body on that bunny, I mean, just, oh, that thing looks really cool. And again, if they take that and they really execute well on it, that's just going to be one of those figures that I feel like should almost be in everybody's collection, because Angry Bunny, Inosuke Kyojuro Tanjiro from McFarlane Toys Demon Slayer line. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the deal. I kind of lied earlier. I totally forgot that I needed to talk about these guys, and so this is other stuff I know nothing about. But one thing I do know something about is they're all coming with extra hands, they're all coming with weapons. It's one of the things I'm really starting to dig about what McFarlane's doing. I just like it. I think that if they can keep this kind of thing up, and I think if they can keep up with maybe executing on things really well, I know, broken record, but if they can turn that corner, McFarlane Toys is going to be one of those lines that I think, like I see a lot of what people are saying about on YouTube, and none of the main people are really sitting there saying, yes, I'm really stoked about a new McFarlane toy figure. But if they can execute on what we're seeing here with this and the DC collectors stuff that we just looked at, I think they're going to turn a corner, and I think collectors are going to start taking it a lot more seriously, besides just the McFarlane people, because man, those McFarlane people, they'll buy all the things, but the rest of us, once McFarlane Toys proves that it can crush figures, we might get on board too, because these are looking good. Just please, please execute McFarlane Toys. That came out wrong. Don't execute McFarlane Toys, just execute, McFarlane Toys, so that we can really dig your stuff. Alright, another company that is horribly inconsistent with their offerings, at least when it comes to their Ultimates line, is Super7, and this week they showed off another wave of their TMNT Ultimates, and I have to say, I don't have any Super7 figures, and I've looked at them from afar. I think many of them look really good, but then I'll check out a review about them, and people are like, loose limbs. They didn't come colored the way that they were shown that they were going to be colored. Some of the materials wrong, all kinds of little things with Super7. Another one that sometimes they come out and people sing their praises, but oftentimes they come out and people are saying, yeah, so the turtles have loose hips. The figures that the line's named after. So I haven't gotten any Super7 figures because of that. That doesn't mean that I don't see them and think they look really good, but it's another company that, guys, I'm gonna need you to turn that corner so that everybody starts singing your praises before I really want to jump in. Now, with that said, let's talk about these 4 figures. First up, we have this foot soldier. Battle damage, 2 extra heads, plenty of hands, 3 bladed weapons, including like a busted sword. We got a couple guns. We have those heads are just kind of crazy the way they're set up. The foot soldier, I think, is mostly a repaint, but the original foot soldier looks really good, so I'm looking at this one thinking maybe the knee is redone a little bit, but I don't know. So this is one of those figures, man. If you think he looks good, do you pull the trigger or do you not? I have the link in the video description, but think about it, because maybe you spend $55 and he comes in and he's just not quite right. Something's really loose. Or maybe you just hold off and wait for him to go down in price, because Super7, the TMNT figures, those are figures that are coming way down in value, and even though I heard Brian Flynn say that's going to stop because the production runs are going to get a lot smaller, if the quality continues to be really spotty, I'm not sure it will stop, because I'm not sure a lot of people are going to really jump on board with the stuff so much anymore. So Super7, prove everybody wrong, show them that you can yell at your factories, and make it so that you're constantly and consistently producing a great product. Anyway, let's get to the next 3, shall we? Man, that sounded really serious. Let's have a little more fun with Ninja Nomad Leonardo. Now, this is an original Super 7 design, and personally, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you know I'm not all 80s all the time. Personally, I think it's pretty cool. Now, looking at a lot of the Super 7 TMNT Ultimates figures, I'd be in it because of the updates to the original toy designs, because I love those original toy designs, but that doesn't mean that I'm not all for something new, and there's just something about this Leonardo that kind of makes me chuckle a little bit. It's kind of taking it back to the origins of the figures. I can see where it kind of fits in the line, because it's a little ridiculous, it's a little goofy, but it's still Leonardo, who in himself is a Ninja Turtle, which, let us not forget, that also is a little ridiculous and a little goofy, but I like it. I know it's not going to be for everybody, but this would be one that I'd look at and say, I might need it just because some imagination went into it. This wasn't just copying a design from way back when. Ladies and gentlemen, next up we have Rappin' Michelangelo. Plenty of hands, pink sunglasses, gold clock chain, gold speaker nunchucks, boombox, plus Michelangelo's my favorite turtle. Folks, if this thing comes out and the reviews on him show that he's got great QC, somebody will be taking my money, because this thing is one figure I might actually need. With Mikey being my favorite turtle, I keep looking at all kinds of different variations of Michelangelo, including the sewer surfing one, including the one from, I believe, Wave 3, and I keep thinking, man, these are good. And the sewer surfing one, I think the QC was pretty good on, even though the Wave 3, he seemed a little shiny, probably loose hips again. I don't know, but ooh, I loves me some Mike, and this one is just 80s ridiculousness, and any kind of ridiculous it's kind of my kind of thing. And finally, from Super 7's TMNT Ultimates line, we have the Rat King. The Rat King comes with a dead cat. I like cats, but that dead cat accessory, that's kind of hilarious. That's kind of awesome. Again, it's kind of ridiculous. Plus, he's got like a rat rope. He's got all kinds of hands. He's got what I believe everybody was calling the sexy Rat King head, as well as another alternate head. He's just got all the things, and he looks really creepy, like old school Playmate style, and that's just kind of what I dig when it comes to the aesthetics of this line. So I was pretty stoked to see this, and to see that Super 7 listened and course corrected when it came to this figure. I just think he looks good, so here's hoping that Super 7, just like I was hoping for McFarlane Toys, can turn that corner and really execute on this stuff to bring somebody like me on board, who's looking at this stuff and kind of going, man, I don't know. I don't want to spend $55 and get something that isn't looking like what I see in the images here. Still, what I see in the images here, creepy goodness, folks. Creepy goodness. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is finally every picture-perfect pre-order that I saw this past week. Now do me a favor and let me know in the comments if I missed any, and let me know in the comments if any of what I talked about are figures you're going to be trying to pick up. Also, a little more homework for that comment section. What do you think of the fact that a lot of companies are starting to reissue some figures? Because a lot of their reissues are really high-end, popular stuff that people missed out on that they should be stoked about. So personally, I think the reissues are kind of a good idea. And then, what do you think of McFarlane Toys and Super 7? Are you a big fan of either one? Are you a fan of both? Do you kind of avoid both of them for the same reasons I do? Just let me know in the comments. I want to get a real taste of where the Toypixx community is at when it comes to those things. And now, on to today's Toypixx photo. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for today's photo, Peace Through Tyranny, with the 3-0 Transformers MDLX Megatron. Now this guy, for me, is in contention for Figure of the Year, and I haven't shot nearly enough photos of him. And frankly, that's a crime. So yeah, I figured I better put this bad boy up. Now, the QR code is there so you can scan it and go comment on the X/Twitter with your own photo of a figure that you think is in contention for your own top 10 figure of the year. Because I want to know what everybody's kind of digging right now. I think that'd straight up be fun. By the way, all the QR codes that you're seeing in this video, they'll also have links in the video description in case you're a little more old school like yours truly. Don't tell anybody. And now, it's time for today's Patreon freebie. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for today's Patreon freebie, which is kind of redundant, because as I've been saying, everything I put on Patreon is free, so go check out the Toypixx Patreon page, check out the tiers, there's even a free tier, so if you're into action figure photography, there's literally no reason for you to not become a member of the Toypixx Patreon in the free tier. Unless you don't want to create another login for another website, because yeah, I hate doing that. That's kind of a pain in the butt. Anyway, the Patreon freebie for today is all the Photoshop and high-res image files of the photos that I've shot this past week. Now, I do that for a few reasons. One is because for all the toy stores and comic shops out there, if they need marketing materials, they can go in and grab any of these high-res JPEG images, use them on newsletters, print them up, put them in their store, do whatever they can marketing-wise to see if they can get more people in the door. So I'm stoked about that. Also, for just anybody else that digs the images, if you like them enough, download them, put them on your computer, hang them up wherever. I'm not picky. Do what you do, because you dig, which I appreciate. And then we have the Photoshop files, which are for graphic designers of today, maybe new ones, maybe ones that have been doing graphic design for a while, so they can look at the Photoshop files, see how I structure the layers, and maybe it'll help them, and they'll say, oh man, I should do it that way. Or they'll look at it and they'll think, nah, I like the way I do it way better. Either way, it's a free Photoshop file, so hopefully people can learn from these things. But that's why I do it, that's why they're up there, and they are today's Patreon freebie. Bzz. And that, folks, is what I've got for this one. So as always, thanks a ton for taking the time to check out today's video. It is massively appreciated. And until next time, have fun and happy snapping. See ya.